I know this is going to surprise you, but Andrew Cuomo won't take no for an answer. Cuomo to fight on in mayor's race after bruising primary loss to Mamdani. We knew this was coming when he didn't take his name off the ballot line. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo has decided to run in the general election for mayor, urged on by supporters anxious that his withdrawal would nearly guarantee Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani's victory and put New York City in the hands of the far left. Now, remember, next time somebody tells you how the New York Times is a left-wing paper, remember how they phrase this. They are not, by any stretch of the imagination, a left-wing newspaper. The decision by Mr. Cuomo, who had been questioning whether to run after his crushing Democratic primary defeat by Mr. Mamdani, a state assemblyman and a Democratic socialist, was announced Monday afternoon in a 90-second video. Let's take a look at that.
I'm Andrew Cuomo. And unless you've been living under a rock,
it's funny right from the beginning. It's funny. Okay, let's watch him beg for 90 seconds.
Andrew Cuomo. And unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that the Democratic primary did not go the way I had hoped. To the 400.
A lot of my advisors are saying I killed off most of the old people who would have voted for me with my policies during COVID.
40,000 New Yorkers who voted for me, a sincere thank you. Thank you for believing in me, in my agenda, and in my experience. And I am truly sorry that I let you down. But as my grandfather used to say, when you get knocked down, learn the lesson and pick yourself back up and get in the game. And that is what I'm going to do.
Wow, your grandfather was as original and creative as you are.
Notice the B-roll. He's trying to get a fist bump from that lady, and she won't give it to him, so he gives up and walks away. Watch. Go ahead, hit it.
And I am truly sorry that I let you down. But as my grandfather used to say, when you get knocked down, learn the lesson and pick yourself back up and get in the game. And that is what I'm going to do. The fight to save our city isn't over. Only 13% of New Yorkers voted in the June primary. The general election is in November, and I am in it to win it. My opponent, Mr. Mamdani, offers slick slogans, but no real solutions. We need a city with lower rent, safer streets, where buying your first home is once again possible, where childcare won't bankrupt you. That's the New York City we know. That's the one that is still possible. You haven't given up on it, and you deserve a mayor with the experience and ideas to make it happen again, and the guts to take on anyone who stands in the way. Every day I'm going to be hitting the streets, meeting you where you are, to hear the good and the bad, problems and solutions. Because for the next few months, it's my responsibility to earn your vote. So let's do this. I'll see you out there.
Okay, so how did this go? Now, I did this to get the latest numbers right before we went on the air. So at that time, a couple hours ago, he had 5,000 likes and 7.5 thousand comments. So he got ratioed, but it gets a lot worse. So in very cheeky fashion, Zoran Mamdani replied with a link to his fundraising page and ratioed him with that. 159,000 likes, 1.3 thousand comments, dwarfing the overall response to Andrew Cuomo's original post. Completely
159 to 5. That's one of the most epic ever.
159 to 5. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. Apac Tracker had a little fun responding to Cuomo's post, pointing out and reminding to people, Andrew Cuomo joins high-powered legal team to defend Netanyahu against ICC's war crime claims. Andrew Cuomo is in the unique position of being absolutely despised by everybody. Like, who likes Andrew Cuomo? Who is an Andrew Cuomo fan? Our friend Blakely here responded, What happened to voting blue no matter who? Isn't it funny that never applies when people who are to the left of Francisco Franco win a primary? What happened to supporting the Democratic nominee, or else you're helping Trump? I want everyone to pay attention to the way the National Democratic Party and New York delegation particularly reacts to this. This is the same party that has raked progressives over the coals over party unity. But the second a progressive wins, they'll immediately join Republicans in attacking them, splitting votes, and running third parties. Absolutely true, although, as we've discussed, the whole situation is really complicated by how truly repulsive and loathsome the alternatives are. That's the only reason you're not seeing today Gillibrand and everybody else jumping on board with Andrew Cuomo's campaign. They just can't. They just can't. He subpoenaed the gynecological exams of the women who accused him of assault. They just cannot back this guy. So this was pretty funny. Somebody quote tweeted it. Elderly Italian pervert doesn't understand no means no.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay, so Mamdani had an appearance. He was endorsed by the Musicians Union, and he had the opportunity to respond to Cuomo getting back in the race.
Welcome everyone to this race, and I am as confident as I have been since 3 weeks ago on primary night when we faced Andrew Cuomo then and won that race by more than 12 points, with the most votes of any Democratic nominee in New York City primary history. And we did so because of the fact that while Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams trip over themselves to make deals in back rooms with billionaires, we are focused on fighting for working New Yorkers. I think he's struggling to come to terms with what Tuesday meant. We spent an entire campaign being told that it was inevitable for Andrew Cuomo to become the next mayor. And he believed that himself. And what we saw was New Yorkers' hunger for a new kind of politics. A politics focused on working people. A politics where far more New Yorkers than before could see themselves in it, in those same policies. And I understand that it is difficult for the former governor to come to terms with that, because it is a repudiation of the politics that he has practiced, that he has known for so many years. And it is that same politics that we are turning the page on.
Now, I got to say, man, when you just watch him and you watch Cuomo, yeah, I mean, you got to say advantage Mamdani just in terms of the optics. You know, Cuomo definitely reads like a corrupt, what he is, a corrupt, old, out of touch New York political hack in the old Tammany Hall corrupt tradition versus this fresh, young candidate talking about issues that Cuomo can't credibly address because a lot of the problems he says he's going to solve now, he created.
Right.
And his opportunity to say, pick up the more right-wing people, his COVID policy destroys that. You'll get some of them, but he's so despised. I mean, he's in the pantheon with Fauci and Biden of major COVID villains among Republicans. I can't see him winning over a huge number of people from that camp either. So a little more from the New York Times. Cuomo will encourage Mr. Mamdani's other challengers, Mayor Eric Adams, who is running as an independent, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee, and Jim Walden, an independent, to do the same. Mr. Walden hatched the plan recently. Isn't it funny? The guy who's running at 1% came up with this plan.
Yeah.
And former Governor David A. Patterson endorsed the idea last week. In the wake of his shocking defeat, much of the city's Democratic establishment has abandoned Mr. Cuomo, with elected officials and unions defecting to endorse Mr. Mamdani. Others, especially in the business and real estate communities, are more focused on trying to prevent Mr. Mamdani's victory and would like to clear the field for either Mr. Adams or Mr. Cuomo. But Mr. Adams, who faced record low poll numbers even before he was indicted on federal corruption charges, which were later dropped by the Trump administration, what they don't say here is basically in exchange for helping him with ICE, and Mr. Sliwa have said they have no intention of dropping out of the race. Mr. Adams is holding fundraisers with unlikely allies for a Democratic mayor of New York City. I don't think that word unlikely means what they think it means, including many Republicans. He has also sought to secure the support of the city's business leaders. Before hiring a new campaign manager, Mr. Adams had the job candidate meet with the billionaire financiers and tennis champion Bill Ackman.
That's right.
And Daniel S. Loeb, among other wealthy leaders. That is really amazing. So yeah, how's Adams doing here? So this is polling from March. No reason to believe it's improved. Mayor Adams' job approval rating drops to all-time low of 20%. 56% of voters say Adams should resign from office. That's how he's doing. How's Mamdani doing? Net approval in the 18 to 44 age range, Mamdani plus 43, Adams negative 55, and Cuomo negative 55. Now, remember, I think we're all conditioned, I think from the Bernie campaigns, to take the youth approval rating with a grain of salt. But once again, remember, New York City skews unusually young because it is so difficult to raise a family in New York City. Generally, Keaton's a perfect example, right? You used to live in New York City, you got married, had some kids, you don't live here anymore. Average age is 38 in New York City because it is very hard, unless you're super wealthy, to raise a family here. As people start to move into another phase of life, they move out of New York. So the fact that his approval is that strong with that demographic, as we saw in the primaries, it carries more weight here than it does in Democratic primaries in other places. And some of the latest polling we have, although this was taken before Cuomo announced he was getting back in the race, Mamdani had 35%, followed by Cuomo 25%, Sliwa 14%. Adams, the incumbent, has 11 in that poll. In another recent poll, Mamdani had 40, Cuomo had 29, and I think Adams was at about 14. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely Mamdani's race to lose. And if you just look at how they've been handling Cuomo's reentry into the race, right from that first troll of putting his fundraising link in there, they've just been relentlessly trolling him, calling out his policies, which tells you they're not taking the race for granted. They're not saying, Cuomo, no. I mean, from what I've seen, they've done like 3 response trolls on him at this point. Cuomo is not going to be, him and the kind of team he's going to cultivate are not going to be nimble enough to fight on that ground. They're too old. They're too old style politics. They're not going to get the meme game, and they're not really going to know how to play it. And when you look at the fact that Sliwa, that's no surprise, and it's really no surprise with Adams. Like, really, you think these guys are going to drop out so that you can consolidate the vote? You think Adams is going to do that? Hey, man, it looks like Adams cut a deal with the Trump administration. They don't prosecute him as long as he can help with ICE. If he's out of office, he can't help with ICE.
Well, Tom Homan said, we're going to be checking up on you. He said it on TV. We're going to be checking up on you. That's an open thread. Hey, the minute you're no longer of use to us is the minute we stop protecting you.
We stop protecting you. So he's highly motivated to stay in this race. In a lot of respects, it's very much like what's happening on the other side with the MAGA movement. You got a lot of pathological narcissists having the chickens come home to roost because they can't coordinate together by nature of their personalities, by nature of their temperaments, being these psychopathic narcissists. They were able to hold together to win an election, but now it's all coming apart. Very much the same thing. Like you got personalities like Andrew Cuomo who could give a fuck about anyone but himself. Eric Adams goes triple for him. And Sliwa doesn't give a shit. He's in this town where Democrat registrations outnumber Republicans 5-1. Why? Oh, he's going to step out of the way to help the Democrats. He's a perennial. For anyone who doesn't know, he founded the Guardian Angels, this kind of like vigilante group in New York. He's a perennial candidate for mayor of New York under the Republican ticket. So yeah, man. I mean, and Mamdani's running a good campaign. Now, I'm not trying to gas up Mamdani in this segment. If anything, the fact that he is able to consolidate these Democratic interests behind him, what that does tell you is that they don't perceive him as a real threat. It seems like the ones who are really insistent on opposing him are the Zionists, which tells you he's a real threat to the kinds of policies that Adams and Cuomo would have, equating anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism under the IHRA standards. Yeah, he's a real threat to that. I think if Bitar drops beepers in people's pockets under Mamdani, they're a lot more likely to get arrested, as they should have been arrested in the first place, because that is clearly menacing under criminal codes. That is clearly menacing at best. So yeah, he's a threat to them. But these financial interests, these business interests, is he a real threat to them? Not really. I mean, partly because of what a lot of people are saying that are true. It's not really within his power to just increase taxes on the wealthy. Right. So he can't really do that. Freezing rent, yeah, I mean, it pisses off property owners. That's why they poured so much money into Andrew Cuomo's campaign. But the real resistance is from Zionists. That's why the unions, I mean, they're not invested in Zionism like that. Even these corrupted union leaders, they're not threatened by Mamdani in that way.
Yeah, the polling there where, you see him plus 43 with young people 18 to 44, and Adams and Cuomo both down 55. There's an old cliche in politics. It's all about turnout. Well, in this case, it really is just all about turnout. Mm-hmm. I mean, Mamdani was able to juice young turnout in the primary. Now, obviously, the general election is not a primary. You're dealing with a much, much, much larger crop of voters. So he has to replicate that math citywide with everybody voting. Everybody voting, though, could give him an unexpected boost. Don't forget, in New York, you have to change your registration by Valentine's Day of the year of the primary in order to be able to vote. So, like, for example, I know someone, I don't know if I should say them on the air. I don't know. I don't think they care, but just in case. They were very excited to vote for Mamdani, only to find out the last minute that they couldn't because they were a registered independent and they couldn't switch registration on the same day.
Well, that's part of the Democratic corruption in New York. They've rigged it so that it's very hard for an insurgent candidate to catch fire later on because what is it, 90 days? Is it 90
something
days
like that? It's
out
maybe even
more.
more.
You have to change your registration.
Yeah, Valentine's Day versus June 24th, so probably even more. Yeah. So yeah, if you look at that math, then he's basically got to drive turnout among young people. If he does that, he will be fine. In terms of Cuomo running, I figured he would. Because he didn't close the door. Usually, if a politician does not close the door, it means they're going to jump back in. But look, in a three-way race, which essentially it is, assuming Sliwa places single digits now that a lot of the MAGA support will go to Adams. Anything can happen. You're talking about an election that's likely to shake out 38 to 31 to 27. Those numbers can come in any order.
Right.
Your job, if you're Mamdani now, is to just make sure that as many young people turn out as possible. And if he can juice turnout with the young, then he'll win.
Please clap.